And today I'm speaking with my friend Nathaniel, who's also known as Atheist Husker on Twitter. And also he's one of the hosts of the show Divine Disbelief. And I have links to all of his stuff down below. The channel, both your Twitters, and et cetera, et cetera. So anyways, Nathaniel, as we were talking briefly before we got going here, you know what I want to talk about. Let's take us back to the very beginning. Like you said, that there's some kind of a before the Christianity story too, which I found kind of interesting. So let it rip, man, and I'll just jump in. And if I have anything ultimately ridiculous to say, and we'll just carry on with this.
Well, I'm certain you will, because it's a fun story, because I was a Christian for really the better part of my formative years, to call it that. Not when I was a child formative, but when I could start to see, let's say, that I understood my sexuality. And I knew that because I grew up in Northeast Nebraska on a farm, by the way, and I'm not a farmer. And so anybody that knows anything about farms will tell you that I don't know anything about farms. And except for the fact that I don't like living on them. And so we lived in a tiny town of about 350 people, which is a tiny. Small. Yes. People down here want to tell me how small towns are. No, Dallas, Fort Worth, you don't get it.
Yeah.
And I was in the, I don't know, like 9th grade, maybe 8th grade. I don't know. I'm not good at this. And I went to astronomy class, so it would have been in the 9th grade. Okay, there we go. And
for a sec, I thought you were going to say astrology class. I was going to, virtually slap you.
No, they teach that in Australia, I think, not here.
Oh.
And met a couple of friends who moved in right next door to us in Nebraska. They came up from Kansas, and one of them said, "Hey, you and your brothers should come out with us to this is like a roller skating thing that we do." And I'm like, "Well, there's 12 people in town. If we're gonna hang out with anybody, might as well be you guys." And because otherwise we're gonna go with our parents back to the to the bar in town, because that was something that happened. And went to this roller skating thing to age myself a little bit for folks here, and met a girl. This is how I knew it was my formative years, because I realized, I realized that this girl was interested in me, and not just because of my amazing roller skating moves, which I don't know if I still have or not, but it's unlikely. And got to talking to her and stuff like that. And she, Neil, invited me to church on the coming Sunday. So it was Friday night, and she said, "You should come to church on Sunday." And I said, "Well, she wants to date me." And
yeah, she's dragging you to church. Hell yeah.
Yes, basically getting married at this point. And because I was, like a young teenager. And I said,
young buck.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, she was a really pretty girl from what I remember. Now, mind you, my memory could be really off, but I was like, yes, I'm going to go there, and she is interested in me. And so I went with the neighbors over to this church in O'Neill, Nebraska, which is 25 miles away. And in Nebraska, that's like there's nothing between the two towns. Right. So it's like you go from Orchard, Nebraska to O'Neill, Nebraska. That's the next town over. And it had over 1,000 people. So buzzing metropolis. And I went to this, it was an Assemblies of God church, by the way. My grandparents well, not my grandparents, my step grandparents, my father's from Germany, in Nebraska, are Methodist. So I had been to church before, but not like, church where,
right.
I went to church at their church at a country church, by the way, which is a thing in the Midwest. And
is it like in a barn or something? Or
it is it looks like, like those old horror movies where the house is the haunted thing.
Yeah.
Basically that, yes. And just a couple of miles from where I went to country school for about a year out there, which also the same thing, thankfully has been bulldozed since then, but I'm certain the area is still haunted. And I went there when we were kids because I wanted to go there, and you had a little thing where you could light the candle and you put it out with a little bell thing. I wanted to do that. I had no idea the significance. And I was like, I just want to do that because they wear the cool robes and stuff. And I was like, yeah, at this other church, not the same. I found out they did this whole singing and clapping thing. I was like, all right. And this girl was there, and I was really excited to see her. Very excited. She was excited to see me at church, and was not at all excited to see me in the way that I was excited to see her. But so I was like duped into going to church, man. And but as it turned out, she and I did become good friends. We have since lost touch, but I'm certain she's doing well or she's not doing well, one of the two.
50-50.
Yeah, it's honestly, and it really kind of like from there, it kind of took off because I didn't have the best home life, and this is like a family to me, right? And I was like, oh, this is really cool stuff, awesome. And I got a lot of friends and stuff like that. Went down to like church camp down in, I don't know, South Central Nebraska, I don't know. And
one time at church camp,
it's if that happened, I was never part of it. I can tell you that's the case. Every time I went to church camp, it was like a Jesus thing. Other people, I'm aware, did not. But every time when I went there, I went to church camp like, I don't know, 5 or 6 times. And I know that I was never involved in any of that.
okay.
Which I think is probably a good thing because I was like, trying to be a good Christian, so did not always succeed. And so I got this Assemblies of God church, and so I was evangelical. My mom moved us to Texas that summer, and because she divorced our stepdad for, I don't know, marital infidelity or just the fact that, I don't know, he's a jackass. She's also whatever. And against my will, moved us down to Texas, to Southeast Texas, where I found out, by the way, Neil, I found something out when we moved down to Texas. Racism is still a thing.
It's a thing in a lot of places still.
Yeah, I did not ever realize that, because we were told in school in Nebraska, where it's like 97% white, that Martin Luther King and everything ended the nope. Moved us down to Texas, and I went to a couple of Baptist churches down in Texas, and that was also the year that there was a guy that he was actually a black guy who actually got drugged behind a truck in Southeast Texas, right where we moved down to, a couple mile, like not a half hour from where we moved from. And that happened.
Friendly neighborhood.
Yes. The KKK is alive and well there, and you'll never guess what religion they are. And I got to experience some of that as well. And I went to a school that's predominantly black. And so I got to experience like all different types of evangelical churches and stuff in Southeast Texas. And was a pretty hardcore Christian. We went into the military as a Christian. There was a joke in the military. People used to try to get me to cuss. Right. And I never would. Cussing was like never something that was difficult for me to not do. It's like one of those things where if it's not ever in your vernacular, you can never do it. Right. And so it's like, yeah, it's kind of like whenever, like racial slurs and whatnot. It's like, I never say them because it's not something I ever think. Same thing with cussing is like, yeah. And I actually switched over my job when I was in the military. I started into the Navy on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier. And I decided I did not like that very much because it's very hot. And then it's also very cold. And then also, I just don't like it very much. Top Gun is not what they said it was.
Yeah. What the hell? There was this old comedian that used to do a shtick about that. I think it was Bobcat Goldthwait. He goes, and there I was, thinking I was going to get into a plane and make out with some chick that looked like Kelly whatever her name was. But there I was hanging off the side of the ship with a scraper going, when do I have to get a plane? And he's scraping barnacles off the side of the ship.
That actually sounds about right. I spent like 18-hour days on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier.
It's Kelly McGillis, by the way. That's the name.
Yes. Kelly McGillis was... she's not in the second one. No, she's not.
There's a second one?
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was a second one.
Yeah, she's not in it.
I'll forget it then.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch that shit. Watch the first one, very specifically, not for Val Kilmer. And by the way, everybody in the Navy likes that film. And
go figure.
And I left the Navy after a whole lot of things. And I was still like a really big Christian and stuff like that. And I went back and moved actually to Kansas City, Missouri, because, you know, I don't want to go back to Nebraska right now, but because I want to like stay like at least halfway in the city. And so Kansas City is a good medium. Sure. And went to a church there and started doing like some online stuff, continuing some online stuff with like college and stuff like that. And then while I was at the church, I was actually at Sheffield Family Life Center. Was the last church that I ever really went to. Say that where I was actually like a member of a church necessarily, but that was actually where because I was going on like mission trips and stuff like that. I went to like Arizona before I went to the Navy and whatnot. Turns out there are people in the United States who have never heard of a Bible. That is a real thing. I had never considered that before. I met people who seriously, now they're Native Americans or Navajo, and so it makes sense. Right. But I was like, wait a second. I thought no.
So you haven't heard the good word.
Yeah, we went there to help them and stuff, but also to tell them about Jesus. And I actually worked with some of the staff at this church in Kansas City, and then applied for, and for some crazy reason was given a position as a youth pastor down in Pembroke Pines, Florida.
Lucky you.
You could say that. It rains every day in Miami. Why?
Casey Atheist kind of, sorry to catch you off, but he wanted to know if you lived in KC or where you lived in KC. Yeah,
I did. I lived north. Man, what's the name of the town anymore? I forget. I don't know. It starts with an R. Up in North KC for most of my time there, and then lived in Overland Park before I moved down to just north of Miami in Pembroke Pines.
Gotcha.
Yep. And I was reading some of the comments. Thank you for making me aware of that. And I was a youth pastor at it's a really small church that was really just beginning. We actually did a lot of the things that of our church services and stuff inside of a school on Sundays. So that was cool. And I did like a lot of not the actual praise and worship, because I can neither sing nor play any music nor any of that. But I am able to apparently run a Microsoft presentation. So I was able to like create those graphics and stuff like that. And I was the youth pastor, and we built up the youth there during my time there. I don't know, we had about like 12 or 13 whenever I got there, and then we had a good time. I actually was able to turn around from what I learned from the girl who tricked me into going to church, that that actually works, Neil. We were able to take photos of some of the youth and then put them on like when they were at church and stuff like that, where they were like involved in church activities and stuff like that, to where it looked like it was fun, and to put them let's just say the quote unquote the popular jock type children, like youth kids, right, without sounding like a creepy old dude at this point, if I can do that. That's
daily for me.
Yeah. I realize I'm gonna get like a knock on the door in a second, sir. Because I'm not one. I was never one of the youth pastors to do anything like that. And we grew our youth group there over. We got over 50 by the time that I had left, and so it was really cool. We had an upstairs and a downstairs whenever we left. We had a new building and stuff like that, and it was really cool. And I actually left the church before I became an atheist. Actually, because I decided that I realized that it was more about having money and getting people into the building than it was actually creating relationships with people. And I really did not like that because I know what I was there for. And I was there for, actually leading people to Christ and actually creating those relationships with the young people so that we were able to ensure they were ready for the world that awaited them and all of that stuff, you know?
Sure.
And I actually had like major disagreements with the other staff about this. I was like, I'm not going to tailor my message to try and get more money if people don't want to give it. And I ended up leaving that, and was still like really strong Christian. I actually went out and I went back to school. Went back, and it was at that point, a few years later, when I was in school, that I figured out that there's only like everything in my life. I'm pretty well a strict empiricist. And there are philosophy people in the chat that are going to get mad at me for saying that. I don't care. That I realize, and especially like as getting into science, which is kind of my thing. If you've ever listened to me, you know, in some of the like the debates that I do now and stuff like that. Have a debate coming up October 10th at Rogers State University with my good friend Dean Meadows, who's an apologist. Feel free to make it there.
That was well done.
Thank you very much. Oh yeah, by the way, it's about the resurrection of Jesus. Dang, I missed. You said it was well done. The topic's not even on there, Neil.
Well, whatever. I mean, they'll figure it out.
And I believe that my partner is home. She said, I want to go upstairs and knock on the door and freak him out. Oh, I would be. I'd feel like, Neil, I think I have to go.
Remember that house I said it was haunted? Well, it's followed me.
Yes. But so you're probably going to hear the corgis bark in a little bit.
There's a psycho cat outside that's crying or like meowing like crazy out there too. So you're gonna have like an animal off.
That is, I can't even hear the cats. That's actually it. You must have something good like sound, whatever they're called.
Like barriers.
Yeah, whatever they are.
Not really.
Somebody sent me a text. Who was it?
He's distant enough.
Oh, it was somebody that's wanted to help with something else. Oh, hey, Critical Cripple is now following us, Divine Disbelief on Twitter. Thank you. But I realized while I was in college again, and even taking like philosophy courses and stuff like that, that there was only one thing in my entire life that I didn't require evidence for. And yes, I just heard her. She's home. And that was, of course, religion. And it became a thing for me where I wanted to find evidence for what I believed. And this is for and I say to people now, it's literally for anything. And I made it a point for myself to have an open mind regarding that, because I didn't want to be wrong about it.
Right.
But I also didn't want to believe something if it wasn't true.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I also wanted to be able to say, hey, I believe this because here's the evidence. I'm trying to find this evidence for it and stuff. And I had originally read, like, I don't know, back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, I don't know. I had read Lee Strobel's book, The Case for Christ, but for some reason never took it seriously. I don't know why. Maybe because I figured out even then he was never an atheist. I don't know. Allegedly. If you say allegedly, you can say anything. And
yeah, this is true.
That's what Susan says. So I'm like, I'm just going to do that. And I ended up researching. And even when, hey, babe, she's over there. I ended up researching like everything, not just Christianity. There's the corgis. Not just Christianity, but Islam and Judaism, but also into like into ancient Chinese culture and Japanese culture and like stuff even here in what is now the United States, North America, South America, and looked at Mormonism and looked at Jehovah's Witnesses. Turns out, by the way, yes, they're cults. If you were completely unaware of this, LDS and Jehovah's Witnesses and all that shit is a cult, and all Christianity is a larger version. And
I wonder what the number of people involved is needed before it passes from cult to religion.
I think that it can be both, right? Because like the Church of Christ is a religion, it's part of the religion, but it's also the cult. And like you look at like Cult 45, right? You know, there's some
Cult 45.
Yeah, it's a cult for the orange fella who's the current occupant of the White House. It's a literal literal cult, and there's millions of them. And like, yeah, they're like disavowing people. This is how you can tell that something is a cult, right? This is a lot like whatever I got whenever I left the church, and what people like Joshua Harris and the other guy from Hillsong are getting now. You look at people like Justin Amash up in Michigan and a couple of other like moderate, if you want to call them Republicans, when they even say anything or John McCain was a great example, say anything that's like even moderately critical of Donald Trump, they're kicked out immediately and they're like shunned for life. That's how you can tell something is a cult, right? And the same thing exists inside of Christianity. It just depends on how deep it goes. And things like the Church of Christ and stuff like that are and some of the different sects of Pentecostalism obviously have more than others, or go deeper than others and have more of like the kick you out of your family type stuff than others.
But do they have magical underwear?
I'm fairly certain there's only one that has the magical like clothing. But then again, I've also seen Aladdin, and they have magical like rugs and stuff. So
I need one of those.
And that is Islam, because they talk about jinns and whatnot. That's Islam. I don't know. I like, you look at the 1990s.
Oh, jinns are around before Islam, dude.
Oh yeah, this is like, you look at the 1990. I think Aladdin was 92 or something, right? Or 93 maybe. I don't know. Because I know that Beauty and the Beast was 91.
Yeah, it was about that time because I was working at the record store when we got the video in to sell. So
nice. The Sultan says praise Allah, and I look at it now and I'm like, wow, the evangelicals would hate this shit. This had to be the early 90s. But it took me a couple of years, and so good news for me was that I found out that, and I had at one point heard young earth creationism when I was a Christian, but I didn't realize I had actually heard young earth creationism, right? Whenever I was at Sheffield up in Kansas City, and he talked about Noah's flood and then the continent splitting apart and all that stuff, I didn't realize what I was hearing. I didn't have the concept of young earth creationism until like 2011 or 2012 or something like that. So that's a new thing for me. And I had always accepted evolutionary theory, and I was my degree field was in science, and particularly into anthropology and stuff like this, and then into paleoanthropology. And so I got like fossils sitting over here and stuff, just random.
Yeah, I got a few kicking around here too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I find some awesome fossils. There's some good stuff. And I found out that none of that other stuff was true, which is really good for Christianity, until I also discovered that Christianity wasn't true as well. And it was very difficult for me to accept that one for obvious reasons. I dedicated so much of my life to it up to that point, and how much different would my life have been type stuff. And which I think for part of it, I'm actually kind of grateful that it was, because like I said, the home life wasn't great. So maybe at that point in my life, Christianity wasn't a big, like a bad thing.
We figure it helped you a little bit, maybe?
I think it probably, because my two younger brothers never even graduated high school. I don't think that would have been a problem for me, but I don't think, I don't know if I would have, gone down like some of the same paths that I did. I may have, because I was completely like, I was not, I never drank anything, I still never smoked anything or anything like that, when I was younger. Yeah, I know. There's never any underage drinking in my life. So,
okay. But you knock a few back nowadays, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Right. A few. Yeah, not as many as I once did.
Just a few.
Yeah. I just have one or two here and there. One or two.
112.
Actually, today it's the Oktoberfest from Shiner. So if you ever come down to the
I like the Shiner stuff.
Spetzel Brewery down here, I'll ship you some. No, I won't.
I was up and then I was down.
Yeah,
like
you got
instantaneously.
Reasons to come back to Texas. This is actually.
I'll be back, my friend. I will be back.
Yeah, one reason to come here. This is about it. There's some. Was that your phone or mine?
It was mine.
There are some amazing.
My neighbor and friend that lives a floor below me wanted to know if I got my brakes fixed. I only got the front ones done. I'm getting the back ones done tomorrow. So
okay.
So all the way home, I was like, it was great.
Yes, like it's about. I think it's about time.
Oh, I hear Neil. He's coming.
Yeah, it's when you sound like a sled when you're stopping, Neil.
Yeah, exactly.
But I remember this night very specifically. Whenever I finally accepted that I was an atheist, I think I already knew, and I think it was just like accepting it basically because I was constantly still like praying, and I went to like several church leaders too for like some of the churches that I was going to, and I was like, hey, I have questions about this stuff. What answers can I get from you? And they didn't have answers for this stuff, And I even had one of them tell me not to bring it up to other people who weren't in the leadership staff and stuff like that, because I would be like, quote unquote, like leading the flock astray or something like that. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like a good reason to not answer my question, you dick. And also like not, and again, this is something I tell people even today. If somebody tells you stop thinking about something, start thinking about it. This is like whenever like, what's his fuck face? Ray Comfort, he tells people like turn off their brain and don't listen to logic. That's the time you listen to logic. And also Logic on his channel, recommended. And
Logic, yeah, he's all right. He's got some good moments.
Yeah,
I just to address something here, people are all concerned about my brakes. Guys, my brakes literally within the past week and a half started making that noise. And I got all the parts and stuff. It's just the guy that was originally going to fix it wanted to charge me almost $1,000 to do it. And I'm like, screw you. I'm going to take it to work where I have mechanics there and they do it. But they can only do it on their brakes. So I only got the front ones fixed today and the rear ones will be fixed tomorrow. I got rotors and pads for both front and back. I mean, I've had those brakes that came with the vehicle when I got it in 2012. So I think it got fairly healthy life out of those brakes. And some of them weren't even worn all the way down. So there you go.
Somebody said that I'm an ass. This is a true statement.
Who said you're an ass?
I don't know. It's whoever it is.
That's tatted.
How do you know me?
Don't worry, he's fucking with you. He's good people.
You must follow my Twitter feed rather closely.
How did you behave yourself?
But and I asked him, like about the contradictory, stories of the birth of Jesus and stuff like this, and these historical references. And I asked him about Josephus and about Pliny and stuff like that. Things that now today that I know probably better than they ever did. And they didn't have, and those are just a couple of them. They didn't have the answers to them. And that was very difficult for me because these are people that I respected. Mm-hmm. And people that I really felt like I could come to like in times of need and stuff like that, and it hurt quite a bit whenever the people that I would come to would basically shove off type stuff, like stop thinking about it. It's not a big deal when in fact it is a big deal. Right. And that, by the way, did nothing to continue my wavering, ideas regarding the religion. And I think people hear that and they like, you Christians will latch onto that part. And they're like, oh, that's why you left. No, nah. Just because somebody couldn't answer the question doesn't mean anything. Just because somebody's an asshole is not a reason to go away from something, right? Like a bunch of people could be complete dicks about something and that thing could still be true. It just means they're dicks. And it's like the Vancouver Canucks and their fans. Come on, we're on with on this.
Hey, whoa!
It's not my fault what happened in 2011, okay? I was cheering, and I didn't need you guys to be turning over cars and lighting the fucking city on fire.
Oh, yeah. You know what, dude? If you were on Facebook for like months before that, they were planning it well ahead of time to replay 1994.
Oh, which, by the way,
had the riots when we lost to the Rangers.
Yeah, which, by the way, was when I became a Canucks fan. Yeah, 94. It's also the same year that I became a Kansas City Chiefs fan. And Atlanta Braves, because they went on to win the World Series in 95, and the Houston Rockets for 94, 95 back-to-back championships. I found out that I was at that time like a fair weather fan as a kid. And now we're just, and I'm just still fans, I think, like just because, like, well, this is who I am. But when it came to like these ideas, they had no answers for them. And I figured out why, by the way, because without excusing it away, oh, you jerk. I read the comment. Was it Randy? Was it? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think he's
from Kansas City too.
But I think he's a Raiders fan or something.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. I think because
he liked the Nordiques. That's cool. Nordiques were awesome.
He was on I think he was on our Divine Disbelief a couple weeks ago or something, and I mentioned it, and he was like, he's a Raiders fan or something. So yeah, we can't all be right. And
well, NFL, I'm a Hawks fan, Seahawks, because
well, yeah, they're right down the street from you. This is how we know that. This is how we know that religion is bullshit. By the way, is because it's like geographical in nature, and just like sports fans, it's the same thing. I can predict what people are to a stunning. Like what fandom people are a part of to a stunning degree just based on where they live. And of course it's not 100%, but neither is religion, but it's very high. And it's like another little tell.
Who do you think my favorite college ball team is?
Well, it should be Nebraska.
You are correct, sir.
Babe! Susan!
I like the Huskers, and I like Alabama.
Susan, come here. I'm gonna tell Susan.
Okay.
Oh, the other microphone is across the room, and it's still plugged in, so she's gonna talk. Susan, come here.
What?
30 seconds behind.
The microphone is still on. So, Hey, Susan.
Yeah.
Guess who Neil's favorite college team is?
Huskers. I'm listening, dude.
Oh, I'm so excited. Did you see that, Neil? Did you see that the Huskers, they unveiled their new alternate uniforms today?
Yes, I saw that.
Oh my god!
What'd you think of them?
I don't feel as though, like, I probably shouldn't have taken Viagra prior to watching the video.
So you might be needing the doctor in about a week or so.
Yeah,
it doesn't come down. Since
it may never come down.
They were pretty cool, I thought.
Yes,
pretty cool.
The black shirts now, because I was telling Susan more about the black shirt stuff the other day, and then today the uniforms. I'm like, oh, maybe there is a god. It's a football god for sure.
And the team that wins is the ones he's bet on.
That's true. Yeah. Say what, babe?
Would you be a polytheist if you would specifically be a football god?
No, because that'd be the only god. It would be the football god.
Well, what about the baseball god?
There's no such thing. There's no such thing as, she's asking, I don't know if you can hear her or not, but the baseball god. There's no such thing as a baseball god. Here's the thing I know there's a football god, because we did something whenever Tom Osborne retired in 1997 to make that god really mad. Okay. And since then, the motherfucker has been like just hitting us with bad coaches and bad players. Okay. We were the football god's favorite team. And Nick Saban signed whatever deal he had to do. I don't know, when he went to Alabama, right? Are you okay? She's choking on stuff. Anyways, people aren't going to get that joke, Neil. So, but with the atheism thing, it ended up being that I realized that I was an atheist. And I still was still like praying about it. Hey, by the way, babe, if you need the Heimlich, just let me know. I
heard they're not supposed to do that anymore.
I don't know. I saw a video where somebody did it at an Italian restaurant or something.
Yeah, me too.
If you're not supposed to, I don't know about it. Maybe just kick him in the stomach or something. I don't know. but I was walking home one night, and I was like praying, and it became this point where I was like, I think I kind of knew, right? Like already, again, as I keep saying that kind of beforehand, but I was like, and I like yelled at the sky, which looking back, yeah, crazy. And I did, and I looked at I looked at the sky, and I yelled, and people making fun of the Heimlich.
That's awesome.
Got it.
The Heimlich maneuver. Trust me, that works. What? Get out of there.
Oh, I'm gonna let you have that one. You're gonna spit everywhere.
No, I'm good.
But are you okay? All right. And I like literally sat down on the sidewalk, and thankfully I was the only one there, because I don't know what I would have looked like. I had a backpack on, and I was sitting on the sidewalk, and I was literally crying because I realized that my entire life to that point, and I was in my 20s, was like upper 20s, actually pretty close, was like for naught. That everything I had done was completely wrong. People ask me this question about, like the people that I would talk about Jesus. Do I feel bad about that? No, I don't, because I felt like what I was doing at the time was right, and I don't feel like I hurt anybody.
Probably not.
I know there are people like Kenneth Copeland, who lives here in DFW, who definitely should feel bad, but he doesn't, because he doesn't have a soul, in the sense of what a soul would be for empathy. And
nice back pedal.
Thanks. we say that because we still.
I still use the word, but musically.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. There you go. He also doesn't have that, and I don't know how long I sat there on the ground. But I was like sat there, and I was like, is my life over with? It seems like the dumbest thing, but I literally was, because I was somebody who spent probably 4 out of the 7 days of the week in a church somewhere, and was involved even I was in young adults groups and stuff like that, and like, what am I going to do with my life? For me, like, what is it going to, I don't know. And so I had like a lot of those questions, but the first one was like, do I even like do anything? Do I even go home? Who do I talk to? What do I do from here? Type stuff. And I went home, and I went to sleep. I didn't even eat like any dinner or anything like that. It was like the middle of winter anyway, so it was already dark and everything. And I went to sleep, and I woke up the next morning, and I don't remember having any dreams or anything like that, which is pretty cool. Because Susan can tell you I have PTSD, and I dream about things all the time that I don't remember. Like, then I wake up and don't know where I'm at. I think it happened last night. I know that I woke up the next morning, and it was like completely different for me. Because I actually went on the internet, and Facebook was a thing. So I'm not that old. And
remember MySpace?
I do. I think I'm pretty certain they probably canceled my MySpace. I haven't been on in probably a decade.
Yeah, I had a band page on there. It's probably not there anymore.
And I actually went onto Facebook as a person who still had a lot of friends in the church, and actually I still have a few friends. I mean, and Susan can tell you, one of my best friends is a pastor down in Orange, Texas, and he and I are really good friends. But I went on to Facebook, and I made it like a public message, and I even said, my name is Nathaniel, and I'm an atheist. And that was like it. And that went well.
How many people unfriended you?
I Like immediately or over time?
Well, obviously, it's going to take a few days for everyone to get that sort of message, right? So
Yeah, I had people that would told me immediately that they were sorry. I'm like, odd.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
They were sorry that you were an atheist.
Yeah, and I have people still today that tell me they're sorry I'm an atheist.
Jeez.
It happened 2 days ago at work, and
like, did you ask maybe, are you sorry because you're not, or like?
No, they tell me they're sorry, and I'm like, okay, and I'm like, I'm not sorry you're a Christian, so, and I had people that tell me that I'd better repent or I'm going to go to hell, and then they block me immediately, and I'm like, well, that'll do it. Yeah. I probably in the first week after it wasn't like that much. I read Cripples, and it wasn't that much, but I actually also didn't really talk about it that much either. And I had a lot of friends at that point from high school, and so a lot of them, this is in Southeast Texas, and so pretty much all of them are still Christians as far as I know. There's a small contingent of people in Southeast Texas that are in Orange County that are atheists, but most of them are still Christians. And so I didn't talk about it a lot on Twitter either. And then I started talking about it on Twitter, and that was the moment, Neil, that I had people, and I have these messages, and people are like, why do you screenshot? I'm like, because I get death threats, man.
Do you actually?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. I've had stuff written on my car and stuff before. People like,
holy shit, seriously.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It turns out when you go and tell them that you would like them to move their cross to private property, they want to murder you. And it's like a real thing that exists in certain parts of the country. And I had people that were like, you're not welcome back in this town, because of the things you said about God. And I'm like, I don't think you can say that. I don't think that you can say that as the town. Mm-hmm. And I still went back, by the way, and we still got the fucking sign taken down. People would leave notes on my car and stuff, like repent or else. And so you get the pamphlets and stuff from Jehovah's Witnesses, except for I would get the ones that were like, motherfucker, you're going to burn in hell type stuff.
The good ones.
Yeah. The ones that you actually want to get. I would rather get that, from the Jehovah's Witnesses than be like, oh, look, he's an all loving God. And I'm like, nah, come on, give me the real ones.
My Christians are violent. Who knew?
Yeah. Right. And then the evangelical ones are the ones that more than anything started to attack me on Facebook. And now I'm not like the most antagonistic person, but I'm really close. I'm up there as far as antagonizing people and stirring the pot a little bit and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, I do that too.
And I was like, poke. Oh yeah, so about these contradictions, and yes, people would come in to, I probably lost over the course when I first started talking about it again in 2012, I think was when I really started picking up. I mean, a year and a half after I came out as an atheist, I started picking up the steam a little bit. And then I learned about young earth creationism, and I was like, oh, fuck no.
I think I had the same reaction when mind you, I heard about it way back in the 90s when I talked to some idiot stick came into my record store that I was working at. I was managing at the time, and he was looking for gospel stuff. And I'm like, we really have maybe 3 or 4 albums. We don't really carry that shit. Go to the downtown store. They got a big section.
Right.
I was like, I don't want that crap in here. Get it out of here. And this was in the early 90s. And he was going, well, I need stuff. I'm a young earth creationist. I'm like, okay, what?
Why? You need a science book, sir. You need a book.
Go to the library. Get the fuck out of here.
I can give him. You can have my human origins book. It's right over there. It's not shit on the floor. And at that point, though, when I started to actually post things, especially around Christmas and Easter, a lot of the things, by the way, yes, the times people actually go to church. where, and what's funny is I've kind of been like validated by some of like my favorite YouTube channels that like look into like the historicity and stuff like that, like the details of the certain religions and that kind of a thing. So, you know, hey, Paul and Rhino and Logic and something else, Christianity.
Paul Gio, you mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Susan loves him because of the Star Wars thing. I love him for other reasons.
No, I should have been hanging out with him and Shanna last night. They were talking about them raising money for the LGBTQ, some fund that they have.
Yeah.
And they did it in Ken Ham's name.
Yep, saw that. They had a live stream. It was right before I was still at work, and it was right before we went on air, and so we had to watch like after the fact. We mentioned it on our show though.
Yeah, I was in there chit chat with him.
And Susan heard that horn too. Okay, good. I was like, I didn't.
He's coming on my show too, by the way, Paul.
Paul is Oh
yeah, he's gonna.
Lucky you. That is awesome. He and I have gotten to know each other, and not like really well, but definitely friends. And he pointed me in directions like some other people that are like scholars and stuff like that. And so I'm more appreciative of him, I think, than he could ever be of me. And
he's good people, man. I got drunk with him a few times down in Texas. So.
Well, he's from Canada, so but I lost at least half of my friend list.
Wow, that many?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Holy.
Southeast Texas, people that went to church almost every single day, people from Kansas City that went to church almost every single day, people that were pastors and stuff like that. And most of them would leave me like the I can't have you on my Facebook, bye. And I'm like, why don't you just leave? Type stuff.
Thanks, Julie, by the way. That's exactly the place I was talking about. She pointed out where it went.
Oh, thank you.
Student Center. Yeah.
And then I was like, and then I started getting actually involved in stuff. And this was really I first started getting involved back in 2015 or so. I was living in East Texas, deep East Texas. And by the way, Neil, I feel like I've said this before, but if you didn't know, racism is still a thing.
Way to circle all the way back to the beginning.
That's a callback. And I experienced some of that in East Texas as well. And it was actually really cool because I actually did some protesting stuff with some predominantly black churches in East Texas because the Klan is still active there too. It just wasn't as active as it may be now. And they still wore masks back then. Now they just walk around in places like Portland with no mask on. I'm just like, well, now we know who you are. Thanks. Yeah, you'll be ashamed again pretty quick. Don't worry about it. Like your boy is not going to be there forever. But there was a sign up and I alluded to this sign a little bit ago because this is the small town in Northeast Texas called Hawkins that the people there, like they actually thought that I was a Christian at first. There's a sign in that town, or there was. It is no longer there. There's a sign in the town, and it said, "Jesus welcomes you to Hawkins." And yes,
is he there like waving at everyone as they come in, or
not that I ever saw. And apparently, even though people told them to, they always said it was about the Jesus, right, and not about somebody's gardener. And people were like, there were literal comments from people at like, why don't you just tell them that it's literally a person who lives here? And I was like, okay, so you don't have to go and be all like racist about this shit. Not every person that's Hispanic is a gardener, right?
For one.
Yeah, but also, yeah, so they were like, it's definitely, the Jesus that's in the New Testament. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. At least you recognize that he was never actually mentioned in the Old Testament. I appreciate that. And it was, they put it before the city council that we want this sign to be built. It says, Jesus welcomes you to Hawkins. And the city council was like, sure, we'll have the kids at school build it. And then we'll put it on public property. And it voted unanimously, yes. So I was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different freaking violations at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And And we found out about it from my good friend Amanda, who now lives down in Austin. And we're actually going to have her on the show as well, because to kind of tell about this story a little bit from her perspective, because I didn't live in Hawkins. I just found out about it. And they said, we need somebody to go up to the city council meeting because they're talking about the sign. And I shit you not, Neil, I could write a book about this, because it's fucking crazy. I went up there in June of 2015, and dressed up a little bit, like I wore so like, it's like nicer clothing and stuff like that, because I'm going to speak in front of a city council.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you're in like costume or something, like when it's Han Solo or something like that.
Looking back,
it should have.
Yeah, ideas. And stood there and went in there, and people actually like welcomed me in, because it's this tiny little town of and Susan would like me dressed up as Han Solo as well. It's like her second favorite character in Star Wars, and she's Chewbacca. I'm not gonna dress up as Chewbacca. I don't.
Oh,
I just want to, I don't.
I can do it.
Yes, Neil could do it. Susan, there you go. I could go as Chewie, and he could, or Han. He could be Chewie. He's taller than me, anyways. That'll work. And stood in front of this city council. They thought I was a Christian, because they all were like, "Hey." And I stood up there and I said, I think there's actually a video of this. I think it might be on YouTube somewhere. I don't know, but I actually had the video of it. And I had 5 minutes, and I said, Mr. Mayor and the city council, and I said, in residents of Hawkins surrounding areas, I said, my name is Nathaniel and I'm an atheist. And it was
like you're at an AA meeting or something.
Yeah, it was, well, because I was like, I wanted to, I was like, let them know right up and down, I'm not going to be dishonest with them. I'm an atheist. And it was immediate, the response from this room of people, because usually at city council meetings, no matter the size of the town, you're getting like 20 or 30 people there. And this thing was packed full of people. And I had 5 minutes to, like, as everybody else did, to tell them like why I thought something should or shouldn't be there. And I was sitting there going, because the Constitution, right? That was like, that's it. But I expounded as much as I could. And it was really funny, because there's this video, and you can see it like 2 minutes and 30 seconds into the video. There's a guy who's on the front row, and he does this, and he starts beating on his watch. And he's like, his time is up. And I'm sitting here going, do you guys measure time here differently? Because I'm like halfway done. And they cut me off before my time was over with.
Wow.
And I was like, and then there's another guy that got up there, and he looked like straight at me. And he said, I think we should build one on the other side of town too, and make it 30 feet tall and with flashing lights, it says, Jesus welcomes you to Hawkins too. And I say, come and take it. And he was this huge guy. Right. And I was like, and so I sat there, and the mayor got mad at me, and I said, put it on private property. And I said that to him, and the mayor was like, one more outburst out of you. And I was like,
that's an outburst?
What? These people are like cheering for this dude. Come on. And the mayor did not like me. Ended up going back there like 3 different times to there. And I was like, you know what? I kind of like this. And then in November of that year, there was another one. There's a cross on a public park down in Port Neches, Texas, down in Southeast Texas, went down and protested that. And then since then have been to, I don't know, dozens of protests. We've organized a couple, actually, where I met my partner at a protest last year, which is the best place to meet somebody if you're an activist, by the way, or if you're both activists. And we were actually at First Baptist Dallas over in Dallas, of course, because the name. And we were protesting Robert Jeffress, who's one of Donald Trump's main guys. I'll tell you this, by the way, if these are like the pastors that are leading Donald Trump to Jesus, you need some new pastors, dude. Like, because the shit's not working. And since then, we've protested an NIFB church up here north of Fort Worth that happened just a couple of months ago. We actually had more people at our, we actually protested them twice, 2 weeks in a row. We had more people at the protest than they had inside their church, which was really awesome. And we got some really really great video from
Must
that.
be
We get
pooping themselves.
they actually like basically advertised our protest for us. The pastor did, and he was like, because it was our channel basically was the way we were able to get the word out and stuff from like Divine Disbelief and everything. And he said, like he said, R and Raw and Divine Disbelief are going to be protesting our church. And I was like, we were like, thanks for the pub, bro. And he said, if you come and we actually meet our, like if we surpass our attendance goal, everybody's gonna get ice cream. And I'm sitting here going, are you trying to get these people here with ice cream? Really? I realize that
I would have pretended and went in for some free ice cream.
Right. He did tell us it was really funny. A week prior, the people that drove by and told us, you're going to hell. Do you mind if I'm going to use a slur they said, is that okay? They called us like the F word.
You can swear. It doesn't.
No, it's not. It's a homophobic slur.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's, you know what? You're telling a story and it's used as a description in the story. So
these are not
calling somebody that.
Yeah, these are not things that we say. They drove by and I was actually inside the store, so I didn't get to hear it. I had to hear it in third person, basically. They drove out and they said, you're going to hell, faggots. And yeah, as
fully expected.
Yeah, which is, and they say the word like in the church and stuff.
They were saying it on the news.
Yeah.
And they weren't being bleeped out either.
Yeah. It's kind of like when they say ass bleep. And I'm like, wait a second. That happens, by the way. And then the next week, though, they said you should have come inside because the message was about you. The first message wasn't about us, actually. They mentioned us once or twice and couldn't help but look out at us because we had these huge we had these signs and stuff like that. The next week we had these huge pride flags and stuff. You've seen the photos and the videos and whatnot. You could not miss us. And he kept looking outside at us, and I was like, yes, we are a distraction. And they said, you should have come inside. In his message, he's like, they're not welcome here. I was like, which one is true, folks? We need to know because there's ice cream involved in
getting mixed signals here.
Yeah. And the guy actually came out, and this is Shelley. I hate to call him a pastor. Shelley came out and tried to like talk to us, and he came up to me and he's like, you're the leader of this. And I was like, what's up, man? And I was like, yeah, dude. Love you, man. And I kept telling him I loved him. And that's all I kept saying to him. Because we don't want to like antagonize these people. So because they try to find reasons to like stand your ground type bullshit. And they came out to us and we ended up like basically turned the back on them and said they're not worth our time. And they're like, he's like, if we're not worth your time, why are you here? And I was like, oh, we're not here for you. So that was fun. We recently also protested Westboro Baptist. They were down here in Arlington. Turned out one of the main family members was here. I forget her name. Susan always remembers her name, and I forget it. But
lovely people.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was across the street from them, like in the median from them at one point, and I was holding this sign. I think I was holding the King James was bisexual sign. Which is really one of my favorites because it works for both NIFB and for the Westboro because that's like their number one thing. It was Rachel. Yeah, Rachel. And I was like, you might leave the church if you would smile more. And she kept, but then I was like, I took a photo and like a selfie of them, and I was flipping them off in the photo and I said, what's up, bigots? And they retweeted it onto their main Westboro page. I was like, thanks. and she kept like retweeting the stuff as we were there, And so at the last place that they went to, I was standing like in the median of like a pretty busy highway. And the police were like, if you get hit by a car, you can't do anything. You can't, press charges on the car. And I'm like, yeah, I understand that. I'll just, insurance or whatever.
Press charges on the car.
Like, yeah. The police were like, we can't protect you. You could. And she was standing there and I kept yelling at her because at that point I was like, this is the last time I'm going to be antagonistic as I can be. And I kept yelling at her and I was like, Rachel, thank you for the retweets. And she because it's like reflex, whenever somebody says your name, you look, and she kept looking as I would say her name, like just out of instinct. And I saw her, and she was like taking a photo, like real, like this type of stuff. And I was like, you can just take the photo. I'll wave. And so she gave us, we got publicity from the NIFB and from Westboro Baptist over the course of the past few months. So honestly, if you're going to get any, they say all publicity is good publicity. And so we have made it like our mission more than anything else to stay involved. And we've traveled all over the state of Texas, advocating for comprehensive sex education in all Texas public schools. And doing that is fighting against the religious right, and especially down here in Texas, where it is not mandatory to even speak about sex education. And if you do, and if you choose to speak about condoms, well, the first thing you have to do is you have to bring up abstinence more than anything else and say it's the preferred method. If you talk about condoms, you can't demonstrate them or provide them and stuff like that. And it leads to Texas leading the nation in so many categories where you don't want to lead the nation, like in teen pregnancy rates and teen birth rates and teen STI rates and repeat STI rates and that kind of a thing. And DFW is huge in that. And it's because of these religious people that push this agenda, and because of things like Project Blitz and stuff like that people haven't heard about. And that's part of the activism that both Susan and I do here in Texas. And it's not everything, obviously. We see these things where if there's something where it's somebody is being persecuted because of their lack of religion, or if they're being persecuted because of their religion. Westboro Baptist is an example of this, where Westboro Baptist is persecuting other Christians, basically trying to,
Yep.
and we stand with the people that show love and integrity and stuff like that. And I think that gets lost a little bit, I think, as well in some of the conversations, where it's like, there are times where we need to stand with people who are religious. And, we have taken really the opportunity that we have here with living in an area that's so, diverse in so many different ways, and also within driving distance of so many other places in not just Texas, but also into like Oklahoma and stuff, for us to be able to go and speak on behalf of people who maybe cannot for whatever reason. And that's just something that we have been able to do, thankfully had the opportunity. And then also, Susan, she pushes me in that direction all the time anyways, to be able to stand up to, the kind of things that people say and do here in Texas, because, we believe we can change Texas. And if we can change Texas, we can change anywhere. Seriously, Alabama, Mississippi, we can, yes, and Louisiana too. So that's kind of, and I've also recently gotten involved in some counter apologetics. And I got, like I said, the debates and stuff like that. But that's like, I don't find the debating as much fun as I do the activism. I don't know. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
What is?
No, Sassy. It's the little birdie lied to you.
Huh. Yeah, Neil, you're not going to church, Neil?
No.
What?
I'll go into a church, but
yeah. Oh, Susan and I, we do go to church every once in a while. We went to church on.
Do you sit in the back row and just point and laugh at people, or what?
Actually, no, we don't. Well, okay. Let me rephrase this. Well, the First Baptist Dallas in again, Robert Jeffress, the people from ICR, the institution, which is kind of funny because one of the people that actually is at the Institute for Creation Research actually said institution, and I was like, wow, Freud didn't slip much. For Creation Research, they are actually they're like on the board or something at this First Baptist Dallas, and so it's like a young Earth creationist mega church. And so we've gone to that a couple of different times. We went to last year. The president of the Metropolitan Atheists, Courtney, and I went inside during the protest. Went to the first service of that church and listened to Robert Jeffress. Almost called him pastor again. Again, people like that, I don't deserve. They deserve the title. speak about, lie about the foundations of our country and how we're supposed to be a Christian nation, and all this stuff. And I'm like, yo, Andrew Seidel, I think, is writing a book about this. And
you're right, he is.
Yeah. Oh no, I have it. It's right here somewhere. Oh no, it's in the other room or something like that. He's actually going to be here in DFW on Friday.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really awesome. And we went to that, and so we took notes from that, able to respond to that thing, as well as they host young Earth creationists like conferences, and they have classes and stuff like that. And so, the first Neil, nobody else knows this, Neil. Susan and I had our first date, right, at Hop Dotty, which is this awesome place in Dallas. Before we went to Hop Dotty, do you know where we went? We went to church. And
Yes. Gonna say, yeah.
We went to church because they were teaching this young Earth creationist thing. And I was like, I want to go to this. And can we go to this? And she was like, okay. I don't know why she said okay. And so we went to church, and there's this guy there who I know, and he went to Clemson, and he's done some like genetics at Clemson. And so he's got a degree in genetics, but it has to do with like soybeans and stuff like that. And he was teaching like the earth is, 6,000 years old, this nonsense. And I sat in the back, and it was like, this was the point where I think I already kind of knew, but like that Susan was probably like the one for me. We're sitting in the back, and she was like scoffing at this guy. And I was like, yes, because I had to sit there. I had like my Galaxy Note at that point, right? And so it clicks. And he was saying these things that were so patently false, and I was like, click, 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 click. I had my pen, and she put her hand on my leg or whatever, and I was like, oh, we having sex tonight. Also, I'm mad. And
angry sex.
Oh, yes. It was amazing. And always is. She's in the other room. And I just heard her. Oh no, the door thankfully is shut. I did just heard her say, hey. And I actually asked them, because they said, anybody have any questions? So I asked a question that I knew the answer to. And they didn't know the answer to it. And a person that was actually there said, can you say that in English? And I was like, I can't help the fact that the name of the particular parts of the body are in Latin. Okay, it's not my fault. And they didn't know the answer to it. And I was like, see, stop telling these people lies, you jerk. And just because a person doesn't know an answer doesn't mean that, that the things that they're saying are untrue.
What you got to do is you sing the head bones connected to you start singing that, and then you'll figure out which one it is.
Right. Yeah. It did have to do something with the valgus knees on Australopithecine versus what we have today with things that connect with our femurs and ligaments and stuff like that into our patella and stuff like that. And they had no idea about that. And I was like, you should know. Hey, babe. Hey, she is bright red. And
you can probably hear yourself.
I can't hear you.
Comparison next to your shirt.
Oh, it's oh man, yeah, you can see it. She's gonna be they want to see you.
Oh, I'm really red right now.
Yeah, she is. She's really red. You're really red. You are really red.
She's all covering up. I'm not red. Not really. Oh, hey. Whoa.
Don't be jealous, Neil. It's okay. Hey, you. Oh, you can.
I mean, I can, but
why not? You do it when I'm on Periscope.
Just let me cue up the porn music here.
I mean, oh no, she left and come back. Oh, she's not showing me the boobs this time. That is something that happens when I'm on Periscope. Whenever there's like bigots and stuff like that are saying nonsense, she'll like show me her boobs, and I'll be like, "Just saw my girlfriend's boobs," and so then they stop immediately. It's actually pretty nice. But we actually went to that church, and so I listened to them, and we listen to them and things they say, and then we basically say, we had the audio of it and stuff like that. And then we come back and we're like, this is how all of this is wrong, just so you know. And we have a larger audience of people that like listen to things like that than actually go to those classes, which helps. And then we went like earlier this year, the Discovery Institute or whatever was in Dallas, and they had this little conference. Metaxas was here and Stephen Meyer was here. That's from your neck of the woods. And then I went up and asked them questions too. They were like, this isn't about a religion. And I asked them a question. I said, if it's not about a religion, why are all of your conferences inside of churches? They didn't have an answer to that and stuff like that, you know. And then Dick Face from University of Houston was
Dick Face,
chemist.
First name Dick, last name Face.
I forget the chemist name, or is he a chemist? I forget anyways, but they were there. And so we go to those and we go actually.
I'm a chemist.
Yeah, but you're not him.
No.
We actually go to these things, and she goes because I ask her to. She doesn't actually want to go to these, which makes sense. And really we find that our ability to go there and listen to these things, because we know what they're saying are lies, and then call them out in whatever way we possibly can, is a form of activism. And when we have the opportunity to do so, we think that we should do that, no matter the time, and really, if possible, no matter the place. ICR has this whole thing opening up like here in the next like month or two, with and they actually sent me an email asking me to be a volunteer, and I was like, oh, you bad email. And I'm like, if we can go there to show what they're doing is wrong, then we should, and that's our view. And because as a Christian, right, anytime, any place that I can proselytize, that I can tell about Jesus, that I can show the love of Jesus, right? Well, I'm still that same person. I have a motor that never stops. If I believe in something and I believe that it is correct, and I have looked at it and it is morally right, then I believe that I should be that same person and go and show where these people are lying and these people are misleading people, especially children. And in my opinion, when these people who actually write these books, like Stephen Meyer and Lee Strobel and the litany of people that do this, and and Ken Ham and fuckface down in Alabama, I don't say his name because he's just a liar as well. Aaron Ron knows him pretty well. Those people, in my opinion, that's child abuse. And so I need to fight that child abuse in whatever way I possibly can. And the same thing, by the way, goes for things like climate change. And the same thing that I believe goes for something I believe in when it comes to like firearm reform, right? So I'm that same person. It just happens to be that I'm that same person when it comes to activism, like secular activism. And so that's really, I just took that became like my purpose. And I'm happy that I figured out what it was. Because some people, they go through their lives trying to figure out after religion, what the fuck do I do?
Yeah, true.
And
they feel lost. Mind you, I'll tell you something, Nathaniel. Most of the people that I speak to in these shows, that doesn't last too long.
Yeah, which is good because we have we obviously we have a sense of purpose is something that's built into every single one of us instinctually, and to find out what that is, and even if we're wrong, and to pursue that until we figure out what it is, I think really fulfills us. And for some folks, it's writing blogs, and for some folks, it's just speaking to people. For some folks, it's making amazing videos on YouTube and amazing content on YouTube, or making podcasts. For some people, it's just learning as much as they can so that they can be a better person to their family and friends. And if whatever that is, I have found, Neil, that I am a more fulfilled person today than I ever was when I would tell somebody about Jesus. And I also know that the feelings that I would feel about, like, when I was at like a Toby Mac concert. So there you go. I did some of those a lot. If you don't know who that is,
I'm sorry.
Somebody does. Somebody does. Somebody in the chat's gonna be like, I know who that is. I felt the same types of feelings when I went to and I watched, like a Nebraska football game in person. And when I watched Nebraska volleyball when they beat Texas 3-0 in 2015, right? I felt no better team to demolish than that team in Austin. And I felt that same feeling, the same chemical response, right? Except it was more because it was real. And also, again, I watched them beat Florida 3-1. Actually was there for that one in Kansas City a couple years ago. And so to feel that and to be a part of that, I'm like, this is actually real stuff. And it makes me feel as though I'm actually part of something that's real versus something that we want to be real. Mm-hmm. And I really just feel like I am more fulfilled today than I ever have been. DC Talk, yeah. There's the comment. Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, he was part of DC Talk.
Oh, yeah, Josiah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Not Toby Mac, yeah. Oh, yeah. But that's me in a very quick nutshell. But I could write a book, by the way, about the Jesus Welcomes You to Hawkins thing. Oh my gosh, it's crazy, man. It is. I think I've written like a blog post about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is pages long. It is crazy how that story evolved over time. Like, I'm not lying to you. How they even said it was like, well, it could be like Superman and stuff. I'm like, what? You did not just compare Jesus to Superman. Stop it.
Not even close.
Yeah. And Julia told me to write the book. I probably could.
Julie's pretty supportive of everybody. So
yeah.
Oh yeah.
But that's me.
Yeah. Well, in a nutshell, as you say.
Yeah. There's a lot more. Not all of it's good either. You know, I've made mistakes and stuff too. So.
Oh fuck, dude. We all have. That's part of the human experience.
Yeah.
Right. The key is to learn from the mistakes.
Absolutely, which I believe that I have. So.
There you go. And I probably have learned from many of mine. And I've made many. So, you know, yeah, I'm only human too. But anyways, dude, we are like 20 minutes past the hour. So this was a good long one.
I apologize for making it go over.
No. I say I usually go for about an hour. Yeah. But if we go past, it's not a big deal. We're done when you're finished with the story. And I realize that you could have a lot more that you could probably go into, but we can also do a part 2 at some time. I got a couple of people that want to come back on and do like a part 2.
Well, we got to have you back on, Divine Disbelief too.
Yeah, for sure.
Now that the video is up and going and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Oh man, Susan is not going to like the Rangers score.
Oh,
yeah, it's not good. I think they're playing the. Are they playing the Mariners? Because wait, are you a Mariners fan too?
I played baseball for a long time. I'm not a huge baseball fan. If I do follow any, it's going to be the Blue Jays.
Oh,
being the only team that we have.
Yeah, not any.
We used to have the Expos, but
yeah, they became the Nats.
Yeah, something like that. I think.
Yeah. Washington Nationals. So
yes, yeah.
You also used to have they had Vancouver, the Grizzlies.
Yeah, for basketball.
Yeah,
and they're now in Memphis.
Yeah, and then the Seattle Supersonics left as well, and they went down to Oklahoma City. So it's like, never mind.
Apparently, Seattle's going to get another basketball team, so go figure that out.
Well, that'll work.
They're getting a hockey team too. They're finally going to be big time in sports. Wait, not just one team.
How? I don't understand that. How are you going to get a hockey? It's not like it's in like New York, where you actually have like all of the people in the stadiums and stuff for like these 2 teams for every sport. Like Vancouver, if it's Vancouver, it should be Vancouver. If it's Seattle, it should be Seattle, in my opinion. Well,
I think both cities can handle.
Yeah,
sure.
You think that Vancouver should get an NFL team?
An NFL team? Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't know. Our CFL team here in BC is sucking ass, so I don't know if we want to go to the NFL. Actually, I actually work with an ex CFLer.
Really?
Work. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
He's a big Dallas Stars fan, though. We kind of razz him about that, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they went to the playoffs last year, though, so we can't say much.
Yeah, so. True enough.
Haven't gone to the playoffs in a few years. So
anyway, Nathaniel, man, this has been great, man. Hearing this stuff, You're really good at this too. Like you talk quite like, I don't know what's the word, expertly, I guess, or something like.
Oh,
like you've done this for like ever is kind of what I mean. But yeah, you're a hell of a good storyteller, we'll say, and to tell your oh, what's going on?
Oh, we live right in the highway, so probably. I mean, it's DFW.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. But but dude, thanks for hanging out with me and sharing your story with us.
Yeah, it's really been my pleasure, and thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely.
I know that there's not going to be an after show, which is sad for Nathaniel. I was like looking in the chat, and I was like, who wants to go to the after? Oh, nobody's chatting, you jerks. Oh well.
What do you mean there's not going to be an after show?
Oh, is there going to be an after show?
I've already got one set up. What are you talking about?
I didn't even know. Who else coming? Who's coming? I want to know.
I don't know. I usually leave that to the people. Whoever would like to join us, you can. You know what to do. You can message me on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yes, Maya, there is an after party. If you'd like to come in, you're welcome to.
Because I told Susan that she was coming to it.
Oh, should I dress?
Well, I didn't. I did not tell Susan that she was coming to it because Susan can make up her own damn mind about what she wants to do. But I told her if there was one that I would want her to be there, because basically to anything that I'm invited to, she is pretty much also invited. So
sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You guys were hilarious the last time. So Terry, yeah. You know, it's weird because Terry Davies is in the chat now. And I when I was outside having a couple of smokes before getting this going, I'm going, fuck, I haven't seen Terry in forever. When the hell is he going to show his face again? And lo and behold, he pops in here. It's like I'm like Kreskin or something.
I see
tuning into the universe.
That happens. Well, no, if I mention the talking snake will show up. So, and he's one of our followers, and I know who he is. So that just happens. So watch out for that to happen in the after party, because he just will show up. So I have one of those too.
Well, yeah. It looks like we've already got a couple of. Oh, shush, Sassy. I know cigarettes are bad. Thank you very much. Thanks, Mom. Anyways, but yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in and hanging out with us. I hope you guys enjoyed the chat. I know I did. Stop dating yourself. Yeah, you're right. Wait, somebody's got to date me. Anyways. Well, that can be taken a couple of different ways, but
yes, it can.
I'm old, people. It's true. I'm old. All right. There's actually they've named like planets after me. I'm that old. Let's put it that way. No, I'm kidding. There's no planets named after me. Until I find one, then they can. Like all the little planetoids that they keep finding out in the asteroid belt and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Like Ceres and stuff like that. Anyway. All right, so guys, I'm gonna jump into an after party here. So if you guys would like to be involved with that, let me know through Twitter, and I'll give you guys a link. With myself and Nathaniel in the after party, there's only usually room for 4 people with the StreamYard stuff, so it could be tight. And I can switch people in and out too if that has to be the way it is. But anyways, guys, thanks again for tuning in, and thanks again to you, Nathaniel, for hanging out with me. It's been an absolute pleasure. And we'll get going shortly with the after party. I'm going to go have a quick smoke and refresh my beverage, and we'll get it going. All right, guys. As I always say at the end of these things. Oh, hang on. Before I do this, it's so new for me. I keep forgetting to do it. But if you guys are interested in helping support my efforts here on YouTube, I do have a link below to my PayPal, and you're welcome to help me out if you can. That would be awesome. I just spent, I don't know how much fucking money on brake parts, but anyways, that has nothing to do with this. But my brand new computer sure cost me a hell of a lot of money. But that's okay, because I did it because I want these things to be good so that you guys will enjoy it more and nice. And I'll stop freezing up like this. All right, so there you go. But anyways, guys, until next time, like I always say at the end of these things, like the late, great Christopher Hitchens once said, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. And we'll see you guys next time.